The idea fell on fertile ground in Russia 1917. The czars lived lavishly while peasants starved to death. No bread and the high cost of living led to massive strikes. Unable to cope, the czar abdicated and a shaky provisional government took over. With so much unrest, Nikolai Lenin took advantage of the opportunity and seized power, introducing his own modified version of communism, which in reality is totalitarianism, total control from the top. Russians have been conditioned to regard Lenin as a saint. They line up for blocks every day to see his tomb. While Lenin promised to create the freest country in the world, the individual continues to be less important than the state. With that as their governing style, Lenin and his successors have transformed their agricultural economy into a heavily industrial one. But consumer desires were sacrificed in the process. More guns, so less butter. Since the Soviet leadership has solidified its authority both within the country and without, it has cautiously but gradually opened its doors to trade, to pacify somewhat the growing internal demand for Western consumer goods and for international political reasons. The Russians predicted correctly that entrepreneurs would see dollar signs dancing in their heads at the prospect of selling to such an untouched market, and that they would prod their own governments to extend lines of credit which the cash-short Russians could then use to buy Western products. Governments of Western countries eager to boost their sagging economies for their own political reasons are consequently courting the Russians passionately. A Canadian trade mission, for example, arrived in Moscow last October.
Oh, good to see you. How we do this in Russia?
Some Canadian businessmen complain that the Russians are extremely hard to deal with, to the point where some say it's not worth the bother. Why? Primarily because everything here is part of government bureaucracy that is highly compartmentalized. After all, the Soviet Union is a socialist state, controlled from the top. Let's say you had the greatest steering wheel to sell them. First, you should contact the Canadian Embassy in Moscow. They'll check with the Ministry of Foreign Trade, and if it's interested, then the Foreign Trade Organization, which deals with Canada, must approve. Then the industry that will actually use your product, in this case a car factory, must indicate its interest. Only at this point will you be invited to come and show your steering wheel. But that's not all for the sale. Clearance must be granted from the Department of Finance and the State Planning Agency to make sure there's enough hard currency to make the purchase, and that it fits in with the Communist Party plan. In short, Canadian businessmen will find it's no short-term project.
Well, I think they won't have any realization of the time involved. I've been working on the Soviet Union requests for over 3 years, and I feel that maybe just now I'm getting to learn how it can be done. The problems are great. The people you deal with are on all levels. You must talk to the technical people first, and then they go into their purchasing agents, and the purchasing agents are buffers. They are the ones who protect the ministry and protect the people from you, so that you are prevented from getting to the people who make decisions.
Well, the Russians are hard to deal with. They are very good businessmen in their own way, and they're very tough bargainers, so it's not going to be easy to make a quick deal with the Russians. But my advice would be, if anyone has a good product, of good quality, and the price is right, and he thinks it's something which the Russians need, then there is a possibility of selling it here. And there have been quite a number of examples of small Canadian companies which have had a product of this sort and have gone after the Russian market, and they've got it. But it requires insistence, obstinacy, and good nerves.
To compete better with businessmen from other countries for the Russian market, Canadians seem eager to have a much greater commercial representation here. They've suggested a trading company, but there are few Canadian organizations that are really big enough or likely to do enough business with the USSR over a period of years to justify the big expense of that. The answer may be for a number of smaller firms to get together, to send a permanent representative to act on their mutual behalf. Bruce Page, CJOH News, Moscow.
Dasher and Dancer. Come on, Vixen, Comet, Downer, and Blitzen. Ho, ho, ho! Hello? Well, hello, Mark.
Hi, Santa.
How are ya?
Good.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
How you doing?
Good.
Well, come on over here.
Sure.
Okay. Boy. Well, come on over.
How's the reindeers?
Well, let's see. Dasher went to New York City today.
What?
Yeah, he was asked to be on television.
Oh.
And the rest of them are in the reindeer barn or in the field enjoying the snow.
Would you do me a favor?
What?
Would you tell me the names of all your reindeers?
Oh, I can't. I have too many. It takes too long.
How much you have?
Right now I got about 48.
I thought you only had 8.
Well, they're the ones I use with the pulling the sleigh.
Oh, do you have Rudolph?
Oh, definitely.
Eh?
How do you think I'm going to make it through the fog in California and the smog in Detroit and some of those?
How did you came here?
How did they come here? Well, I'll tell you what.
What?
The sleigh's being ready for Christmas Eve.
Yeah?
And you and I have a special friend.
Yeah, who?
Who?
Yeah.
Who do you think it is?
Rudolph?
Well, him and somebody else.
Bruce.
Bruce, yeah, he brought me tonight.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's hiding around the corner.
Come here, Bruce.
Come on, Bruce.
Come here.
Bruce.
Bruce Page, come here this instant.
This instant, Bruce.
Come here. Join in the club.
You got to join in the club.
Yep.
That means you got to sit here, Bruce.
Yep.
Yep.
We
So-
are us 3.
Us three, the 3 Musketeers. Yeah. Or the 3 monkeys. Speak no evil, see no evil, and he hears no evil, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
boy, this is fun.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, of course it is.
Sure. By the way, we were talking about something, and you asked me whose birthday it was. I said it was my birthday.
Nope.
It's Mrs. Claus's birthday. I forgot again. Gee williker. I always forget her birthday, you know, December
Nope.
25th. Well, whose birthday is it?
Jesus' birthday.
Well, who's he?
Jesus.
Who is he?
The guy in the sky.
Oh, the guy in the sky. Oh.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, what about it?
That's something else about Christmas. It's not just for Santa Claus.
It isn't.
No, not just for you.
You mean I got to share it with somebody?
Yeah. Right, Dad?
Right.
And you have to share everything
Well,
with Jesus.
yeah, especially love.
Yes,
Yes. That's
that's the thing you have to do.
Share it.
Share love. Jesus is the more important on Christmas Eve.
Oh, where was he born?
In a manger.
If you close your eyes and you can see the manger, you got them closed?
Yep.
Welcome back to Regional Contact. I'm Bruce Page. This week I have a story for you about a colorful lady to whom singing is as natural as breathing. Robin Moyer and her composer husband, Joe Turner.
Ever wonder how they get ships into the tiny necks of bottles? Well, so did I. Hi, I'm Lee Chappell. Stay tuned and we'll unlock one of the mysteries that has puzzled man for centuries.
Hi, I'm Matthew Fisher, and this weekend Regional Contact is in Toronto. We'll be visiting the recently opened Ontario Community Centre for the Deaf and the Reverend Bob Rumbaugh and some of his friends.
No one quite knows how old the art of scrimshaw is, but a safe bet would be to say it's been around at least as long as sailors and rum bottles.
Robin Moyer is an entertainer who's been singing her heart out in the Ottawa Valley for many years. If her name is not familiar to you yet, you can be sure you'll get to know it in the very near future.
Something that I really always wanted to do is to ride a pony of my own. I'm city born and city raised. I've seen too many kinds of machines. Oh, pony would mean a lot to me. Silver mornings and evenings, under the sky we fly. The wind and the gypsies by our side. Little pony, you mean a lot to me. Little pony, you mean a lot to me. La la So I started singing really, really young, and like, it was just always natural for me to sing. I always wanted to do that, and then I sang in school, and you know, the usual thing, festivals and stuff, and in choirs, and I just sang more and more and more, and everybody always knew I was going to be a singer. Everybody in my family, it was just really obvious, and I was extroverted about it. I just wanted to only do that, so I did.
How did it develop into a professional thing?
It did. People ask you and me that anyway, and it was very natural. One automatically led to the other. One day I was doing things in the capacity of just a kid singer, and then the next day I got paid for a job, and that was it. I just always did it. It was just one step right after the other, and I've enjoyed every one of the steps.
How has it developed, though, over the last few years now?
Well, I suppose at one point in my life I made a real decision that music was going to be my life's work, and I wouldn't be doing anything else on the side or that type of thing. And once I made that commitment, it was different, because I figured I wasn't a kid anymore, and this was what I was going to do for my life, and I was going to be an artist and a writer and a singer, and I was going to do the best I could possibly do and be the best I could be. And in my career, I've had a number of phases that I've sort of gone through, and I felt at different times I'd like to do different things, and I think maybe that has been, if ever it's been a problem, although I see it as a growing kind of experience. But if there's been any one thing that I've been unsure about, it's been exactly where do I fit in the musical world, because I've done lots of things and I love doing all of them, you know, folk music and rock and pop music and everything. But my first love has always been jazz and jazz standards and that type of music. I've loved it, and Joe loves it, and my mother always sang those tunes to me, and it seems that I've gone full circle. Swings like a pendulum, Bobby's on bicycles 2 by 2, Westminster Abbey, the Tower of Big Ben, cozy red cheeks of the little children.
I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. There's something about the sea, isn't there, for restoring the soul to its natural rhythm. Poet John Masefield would have felt at peace here, taking a sunrise stroll as I did along the shore of South Carolina's Hilton Head Island. An old-style fisherman happened to cross my path, not Simon Peter, but the character that shone through that bearded, suntanned face was probably not so different. Woody Collins was preparing his nets for an early morning catch. Help? Why, sure, come on along. And that's how an all-too-brief partnership was formed.
Where those fishes